Afternoon, guys. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder School. And at the Pathfinder School here in Southeast Ohio, we teach lots and lots of classes from basic, intermediate to advanced survival, navigation intensive, ropes and rigging, wilderness first aid certification through the Red Cross, as well as CPR, medicinal edible plants, and lots of other classes you can choose from on our website at selfrelianceoutfitters.com under the training tab. We hope to see you for a class in 2025. Now, to today's video. What we're going to do is continue with our top 5 survival firearms. I want to caveat this to defer some confusion from yesterday's video. When I'm talking about a survival firearm in this context, I'm not talking about a homestead firearm. I'm not talking about a home defense firearm. I'm not talking about a long-term survival firearm. I'm talking about something that's fairly lightweight, that you can put into your kit for short-term survival. Something you could throw in a canoe, a kayak, a boat, in the back of an ATV or in the box of an ATV. Something you could throw in your Jeep or your truck or your camper that would give you short-term access to a firearm for procuring small game, okay? The context of a video is important so you don't get comments like, why don't you have an AR with 10,000 rounds? Why aren't you carrying a 308? Again, back to context. We're talking about the eastern woodlands. I told you in the first video, it depends on your environment, your climate, the game available to you in your situation. We're talking about what I recommend for my area, for my situation, okay? Again, these are also in no particular order. A lot of people ask me, well, why not this first? Why not that first? Because the order doesn't matter. I just grabbed the first one and did a video on it. Now, to the second one. And I will tell you that this is definitely one of my favorites. I've been using it since 2008 timeframe. I have videos on it from 2009-10 timeframe. And I've been using the M6 Scout or a Scout clone by TPS Arms for quite a long time. I've been working with TPS Arms since they first came out with this M6 Scout clone. This one happens to be chambered in 357 Magnum and 410. They come in 22 long rifle 410, 22 Womer or Magnum 410, and they come in 357 Magnum 410, which will also shoot 38 special. There's lots and lots of versatility with this particular firearm. It is probably the closest thing to a single shot 12 gauge, which we'll talk about in another video because it's also in the top 5. Just for those who've been asking, what about your single shot? You're going to hear about the single shot. We'll talk about the Stevens 301 probably in the next video. Now, if you have an original M6, which I have one myself, it's camouflaged. I've used it in lots and lots of videos. It was the first one I ever bought. It is 22 long rifle over 410. The originals were 22 Hornet over 410. You can still buy some of the original Springfields in 22 Hornet over 410. I bought one for my father a few years back for a Father's Day present, and he has that one. So the original M6 Scout came in 22 Hornet, 22 long rifle over 410, depending on which model you bought. The Sportsman's Edition or Civilian Edition was 22 long rifle. The Military Edition or the Pilot Survival Edition, and it's a pilot survival rifle. The design intent was that, very much like the AR-7 to begin with. Came in 22 Hornet and 410. Now, the new model of the TPS Arms Scout, you can buy in several calibers. You can buy it in 22 long rifle. You can buy it in 22 Magnum. You can buy it in 17 HMR. You can buy it in 357 Magnum, or you can buy it in 410 over 410. So it has a lot of versatility as far as what you want to do with that firearm and the one that you select to purchase yourself for your survival firearm. If there's any big disadvantage to this over something like the AR-7, it's cost, okay? This thing costs double what an AR-7 costs, but it has more than twice the capability in my mind, so that's kind of a moot point. What do I like about this firearm as a short-term survival firearm? First of all, I love the fact that it breaks into 2 pieces, and you can push the pin out of the middle so that you can store it in 2 flat pieces, and it fits fine in a backpack that way, or on the side of a backpack strapped on like I had the AR-7 yesterday. It is a very heavy duty and heavy firearm. It weighs quite a bit. I'd say guessing 6 pounds plus. It's all steel except for the butt plate cover here and the inner core of the skeleton stock itself. The rest of this thing is made out of steel. It has multiple sights on it, so it has a V sight for your shotgun and pops up to a peep sight for the rifle. I like that very, very well. Again, this one is 357 over 410. It has a simple system to break it down in a latch that you just push up and it breaks the firearm open so that you can chamber both rounds at the same time if you choose to. And then it has a push-pull on it here for the lower barrel, the upper barrel, or you can go in between the two for safe. So with this, you do have a follow-up shot opportunity, unlike a single shot, because you could go from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top very, very quickly to be able to have a follow-up shot, okay? One thing I like about this firearm is the way the safety's set up. It has a safety button here. You can see it's red on one side, black on the other, like a normal safety. But when it is in safe mode, you can't cock the trigger at all, no matter what position it's in. It has to be on fire to cock the trigger, and then you can put it back on safe, and it will not fire. When you put it on fire, it fires. It has a paddle-style trigger on it that was built for wearing gloves so that you can still shoot it with gloves. It works very well like a trigger. If you want to pull it with a single finger, it works just fine like that. A lot of people have a problem with the trigger on this thing, but I've gotten used to it. Doesn't bother me a bit, and I love this firearm. Now, one of the other great things about this firearm is that your ammunition stores in the stock of the gun itself. And the way I've got this one set up is set up as a survival and trap line type gun that we'll talk about in a minute, how I've got this set up. But it holds 410 and it holds 357 or 38, and it will shoot 3-inch 410 rounds. It's got a small space here in the stock to store extra things or whatever you may want to put in there. I'll show you how I've got it set up here in just a minute so you can see it. But I've got this set up so that it will shoot 4 calibers if you count 38, 357. It'll shoot 4 calibers as I've got it set right now. Let's talk about that. Okay, so let's look at the way I've got this one set up. Here is my ammo storage like we talked about before. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 410, number 6 in here. Small game loads. In the 7th slot, instead of having a 410, I have a 3-inch rifled 410 adapter for 22 long rifle and a nail for ejecting the spent casing from the adapter, okay? That allows me to shoot 22 long rifle as well as 410. Then I have 7 357 Magnums in here for medium or large game. And in the slot, I have a small waterproof bag of 22 long rifle with 10 22 long rifle shells in there. Again, that can be shot from this adapter for the 410 chamber. That's 22 long rifle and a 3-inch rifled adapter. You can find those adapters at Short Lane Arms, gunadapters.com. So this allows this to shoot 4 calibers. If you count 357 38 as 2 calibers, plus 410, plus 22 long rifle. All right, very, very simple. You can also get other adapters from Short Lane Arms that would allow you to shoot other calibers, but this is the most versatile setup that I've found for this firearm. Now, let's speak to this as far as advantages and disadvantages for a short-term survival firearm. Advantages: it can shoot larger caliber bullets. 357 can take medium to large game fairly easily. The 410 allows you to have a shotgun barrel. For short-term survival, I think a shotgun barrel can be very, very important for lots of reasons. Number one, you may have problems with vision where you have to wear reading glasses. And it's difficult to be able to see both the front sight and the game you're aiming at to get a good pinpoint shot on something without a scope or a red dot. And a shotgun gives you a much larger margin for error. If you're tired, if you're hungry, if you are just over it and you're out hunting and you see something, you have a much better chance of shooting it and killing it the first time with a shotgun round than you do a rifle round in many, many cases. So you have the shotgun capability with this. You also have the 22 long rifle capability with this, although a 3-inch rifled adapter is not going to be as accurate, obviously, as a long barrel that's rifle for 22 long rifle. But at fairly close range, 15 yards and in, it's going to be plenty accurate. Or if you happen to come up upon an injured animal or something like that, it's very easy to put that animal down with a 22 long rifle round. So there are lots of advantages in a firearm like this in a short-term survival scenario. You do have the capability of a follow-up shot because you can shoot the upper or lower barrel very, very quickly with one pull or push of the adjustment hammer here so that you know which barrel you're shooting, and you can follow it up quick by either pushing it down or pulling it all the way up. That's your follow-up, okay? So you have a fairly quick follow-up shot with a different load, but you could also shoot 410 slugs from this and 357 Magnum if you wanted some type of a follow-up for medium-sized game. So how you set this up is really up to you. I just set it up the easiest way for me. When it comes to disadvantages on this firearm, the only one I can really see is weight, okay? Weight and possibly accuracy because of the short barrel at longer distances may be the problem. But again, when you're talking about short-term survival and something you can pack into a pack or backpack that will break down enough to do that and not have to carry the full firearm if you need to store it, this definitely has that option. So it's better than other things because of that. And again, in a short-term survival scenario, you don't want to be taking long shots anyway because those are just misses waiting to happen. So as far as disadvantages go, I mean, cost, it's 2 times what a Henry AR-7 would cost, but it's got 2 or 3 times the capability as far as different types of ammunition you can fire from this weapon. It is a little bit heavier, quite a bit heavier, obviously, than the AR-7, but also a little heavier than most single shots, especially the 301, which we'll talk about in the next video. So weight is a disadvantage. It does have the advantage of having a sling, which I did not cover. The AR-7 doesn't really have that advantage of having sling studs already in it. This does. So you can actually store the sling with the firearm and have a sling to walk around the woods once you've assembled the firearm. And again, that can be an advantage in lots and lots of situations. So the disadvantages to this are few. The advantages are many. And to me, this is definitely in the top 5, if not the top 2, for short-term survival firearms. It also fits really well into these sleeves. If you've got one of these gun sleeves that are adjustable in length at the bottom, it works really well in that gun sleeve. And you can then carry that thing on your shoulder if that's what you choose to do. With some extra ammunition, you can just shoulder the thing, or you can break it down and put it in a backpack. So you could put this cover into a backpack, the sleeve, or on a side-by-side or in a boat or whatever the case may be. Once you assemble the firearm, you could walk away from base camp with this, attach a water bottle pocket to the molly or whatever you wanted to do, throw some fire starting up with some optics in there, maybe whatever you choose, and you've got an easy, carryable system for short-term survival. Guys, listen, I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for school, for family, and for business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I'll be back with another video in this series as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.